Welcome back to the Hill Project. This week, me and Pete are giving our Premier League predictions of how we think the league table is going to finish. We've had our first round of fixtures. We've had some results that have pretty much gone the way we've expected. But we thought we'd give it the first week, bar United and City's games. Because obviously we're not sure when those ones are being postponed for. Man City and Man U back in action next weekend, Pete?
Yeah, I think all the games are up and running again. It was only that first game.
Yeah, they are. I've just had a little cheeky little double check. But yeah. So would you like to lead us off, Pete, with who you think is going to be our relegation? Who you've got in the bottom 5 of the table?
Bottom 5, starting right at the bottom. For me, this season is going to be West Brom.
Oh.
Yep. Thing is, I can see the bottom 3. I can see we're all going to struggle for me. I've watched West Brom. I think are really going to struggle with it. Just the depth of their squad, single players. I can see they'll be the ones to struggle.
Yeah.
The next team is, I'm going to get slaughtered for this, but I think they're just standout players. I think they're going to struggle, and they played really, really good last year. Burnley.
Oh well, Burnley didn't. To be fair, the start of last season was really poor for them. They were looking in real danger at the start of last season.
But I think Burnley are going to go down, and they're going to be closely followed by Fulham.
So you've gone for the 2 of the 3 going down then.
2 of the 3 going down.
Okay, so okay.
Fulham, I watched against Arsenal. They looked okay. They were going forward a bit, but I can just see them struggling to take those chances this year. For me.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. So who have you got as the 2 that are going to potentially narrowly miss the drop?
17th for me are Villa. They're just going to scrape it again for me.
Fair.
And closely followed behind them is going to be the same again. It's going to be West Ham for me.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think from looking at that, you and me have both gone for very, very similar around that bottom. There's one team that's different.
Wow.
Not in terms of the bottom 5 are. Obviously, mine are all in different orders. Yeah. So I've gone with, and I can see them having one of the lowest points finishes of a Premier League season. That's not even a bold prediction from me. I don't think they've invested. The player they've been linked with that's looking like he's going to go is Areola from PSG, but as a goalkeeper, they need more. So that's Fulham. Yeah. I can see them being rock bottom and staying rock bottom pretty much for the entire season. The next team is again another team that haven't really recruited. Well, they haven't recruited at all. They bought one player they had on loan last season, and I think they're going to struggle. And they played at the weekend. They lost 2-0 to a team that I think actually will have a very good season. They've had the best transfer window. That team is Newcastle. So I think it's going to be. I've got West Ham to finish down in 19th. I can see them.
Go down.
I can see them going out. And the teams that I think is going to narrowly miss the drop, and I will add this, I think it's going to be narrowly because I actually think that they've done a weird that I'm saying that they've done pretty much the same thing as West Ham. They've added more depth there because they've re-signed players that they had on loan last season in the Championship in West Brom, and I can see them easily staying up. But for me, they edge it in being the ones that go down. So of course West Ham was the team for me that was in the bottom 5 that wasn't in yours. The team that just finishes 17th is Brighton. So I got Brighton finished down there.
Ooh.
I think they're just gonna scrape it, and with my heart, I'm just gonna go out there and say that it's gonna be an Adam Lallana screamer on the last day of the season. We love Adam Lallana over here. He gets mentioned in every one of our football videos, so you can't go without him again. And then 16th, I've got Burnley. So, like I say, I think they're at a weird point. Where do they go next, Burnley? I can't really work out what they're going to do. They haven't gone crazy. They've lost one of their best players in Hendrick on a free to a rival team.
Yeah.
They,
When I try and look,
yeah,
when I've done it, I've tried to look through the teams, and towards the lower teams, I've looked for any players that just stand out and maybe carry the squad, a bit like Danny Ings did with Southampton. And I'm looking at these teams, and there's no one really stands out that will carry these teams. That's what worries me about them.
the only team that is the one that might get themselves out of there because they have standout players actually is Brighton. For me, the ones that I've said. Obviously, you got the West Brom with the West Ham lad that they bought. That this all kicks up a fuss over at West Ham. He could be the one that potentially saves them. And is there a little push on? But otherwise, Brighton would be the team with the standout players. They've got, what's his name? The German lad. Gross in their midfield. They've got Neil Maupay, I think he will be a real good player in the Premiership. And I could see him being re-signed by somebody if he goes down. I think he just needs another time. He was an absolute dynamite at Brentford. So I think him and Gross could be the difference. Plus you add Lallana into that. I think they got a chance. And then with the assistance of Dunk, Brighton could have easily drawn the game with Chelsea the other day.
Yeah, definitely.
Whenever that was, last night before.
Yeah.
Shall I lead on with the rest of my bottom half of the table?
Yeah.
So I got Villa 15th, and there's only really one reason why I've got them 15th. Well, actually, there's two. It'd be wrong to say one. So Grealish today has signed a 5-year deal. They've kept hold of Grealish and he was also obviously their captain. He's their pivotal point. They rely on him. So I think that's what for me has kept them 15th, and that was actually sort of partly why I wanted to do after the first weekend of fixtures.
Yeah.
Because I knew there would be some contract signings. For example, Arsenal are looking like they're going to keep Aubameyang. But also Villa have also bought in Watkins from Brentford. Again, Brentford get 2 mentions on this one, who could have easily been in the Premiership to be fair themselves. So they're there for me. In 14th, Sheffield United. I think they'll still, in my eyes, I think 14th for them is still probably overachieving. Yep. So they should be proud of that. 13th, a team that has been regularly finishing 13th is Crystal Palace. I think they won't be in any trouble. And the same with Leeds in 12th and Southampton in 11th. I think they've got players that have got enough about them that will keep them middling, and I think they'll challenge the big teams. Leeds nearly beat Liverpool on Saturday, and they didn't deserve to lose, that's for sure. Leeds played excellent. Considering they had a couple of not young lads, they had a couple of new players that they had to bed in as well. Obviously, I would say probably 90% of that, 99% of that squad. There can't be many players I can think of in the Leeds squad that play in the Prem. Patrick Bamford, and then after that, I'm struggling. They're playing in the Prem before.
The thing that got me was all their goals were in open play as well.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, it was mistakes for Liverpool, so
the thing is,
it's hard to say. But then they were conceding goals to penalties that potentially shouldn't have been a penalty. Certainly, the first one shouldn't have been. The rule is that if it deflects off another part of your body and it hits your hands, it's not a handball. So
they're a hard-working team, Leeds, and they've shown that already.
Yeah, and I think 12th position's good, and I think a lot of their fans I think will come in and they'll say, if we don't finish top half of the table, then we'll be disappointed. When realistically, if you avoid relegation in your first season, you've done well. Because I can see Fulham doing exactly what they did a couple of years ago and going up and coming straight back down, despite having 2 different transfer styles. And obviously Southampton are up there as well, middle of the table. I don't think they'll be challenging for Europe, but I think they'll be early set on avoiding relegation. Nothing to really play for. Maybe a little good run in the cup, one of the cups. That's all they can probably hope for. Maybe Danny Ings scoring 20-odd goals again for them this season. Maybe even Che Adams actually bucking his ideas up and actually start scoring again, because he was a monster in the Championship in League One.
We've gone really, really similar.
We sort of will do around the mid-table. To be fair, it's sort
this
of
bit, and I think it's the next 2 brackets we're going to have very different. But these ones, I've gone for In 15th,
Yep.
I've gone Sheffield United for me.
Okay. Yeah. So what you got them in one position below what I've said.
Yep. 14th for me will be Southampton.
Oh, so quite a bit lower.
Yeah, I know that you see transfer rumours and things like that. And I know Dan Ings has been mentioned a few times lately.
Yeah.
Tottenham and people looking at him. We'll see what happens. But I think the other teams are really starting to step it up around them.
Yeah.
13th place, I've gone for Palace. Exactly the same.
I think 13th is sort of where they're expected to be finishing quite regularly, isn't it?
For 12th for me, because
Yeah.
of the standout play, basically because of the standout players you mentioned earlier, I think Brighton are have a really good year. I think they're going to really have. If they can click that midfield, if their midfield can click together,
Yeah.
this could easily do it for them.
I really hope Brighton do well. I'm a big fan of Potter as the manager. He's a manager that, as a football coach myself, would aspire to. He's somebody that's obviously he played at the top level, to be fair, but he got to the back to managing in the Prem by going around the houses, playing managing the poor clubs, managing off in blimmin' Sweden. I can't remember if he came in when they were in the third division. But obviously, the team that he was managing was it Sweden? Was it Norway? Sweden.
Yeah, it was Sweden.
And yeah, he got them all the way up to the first division. And then obviously ended up with the job at Swansea. Then he's ended up at the job at Brighton. I think I'd like to see them do well.
Yeah, no, I can see Brighton doing that. And 11th spot for me is going to be Leeds.
Okay.
So we are very, very similar around those.
Yeah. Have you mentioned West Ham yet?
West Ham were in 16th for me.
Oh, right there. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it was Brighton with the team that weren't in my bottom five.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think Leeds and Brighton will just tip up mid-table there, and I think there'll be good seasons for them.
I can see. For me, I would consider that overachieving for both of those teams, to be fair.
Yeah. But I think with the individual players they've got, and from Leeds especially, the way I see them working against Liverpool, and I was hearing different things they do in training. They do a killer match,
right?
Where literally, and things like that they're doing. The fitness levels and that, I think that'll take them through. To be honest.
Yeah, I think the fact that they've got such a world class, well, it's maybe a bit strong to say world class, but certainly one of the top 30 managers in the world. For a club like Leeds, that's fantastic. That's sort of what they needed, and they've done well to give him another contract and keep hold of him. Because let's be real, he could have easily gone off and took a job elsewhere. I wonder if his contract had ran out and whether if Barca had come in for him, whether he would have gone. Because obviously we only found out on our football. What were we doing the other day? Football podcast. That we only found out the other day that Bielsa's contract hadn't actually been renewed yet. And he's been working under an expired contract. Well, could have been off.
I think another thing I really liked about him is they're using a lot. They haven't brought in had a massive changeover of the players they got last year. Last season they done well with the players they had, and it's not like they've gone right with Rups Premiership. They stripped these right back. They've kept a lot, and they've kept a bit of a spine there.
More often than not, the teams that have come up and that they've spent big money in the season that they've come up have hit the ground running within the first month or two. And then you find that they end up either really struggling or just going down by the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's the teams. The exception we've had is that Wolves came up. They spent money in the Championship. That was their difference. So they came up. They had that year to gel, and actually their money actually pushed them across the line in the hardest league in the world, in the Championship.
But I like. Oh, you want me to go next?
Yeah, mate. You crack on, bud.
Right. 10th place, and I think this will be a really, really good result for them, is Newcastle.
Fair, yeah, because neither of us. In fact, our top 10, I think, is exactly the same, just in different orders.
Yeah. 9th place will be a bit of a drop, but there's a lot of teams spending big around them. My 9th spot will be going to Leicester.
Oh, that wasn't what I was expecting you to say, but okay.
No. My 8th spot will be the flop of the year for me, and that's Tottenham. And in Seventh place for me, I think Wolves, they're going to be there or thereabouts. And I think that'd be a good position for them. And the sixth spot, I was really debating with this. I think Everton are going to take it this year.
In sixth?
Yeah, sixth.
That's bold. That's a bold statement.
I think Everton will take it over Spurs and Wolves. It was those three were going to be sixth, seventh, and eighth for me.
Blimey. Yeah, so I went with a team struggling that hadn't had a season that they expected. I say they're only two or three places down. They still wouldn't get. They still didn't get Europa League this year in the end. But I've got Wolves in 10th. I actually was been thinking about this all week. I could see the Doherty deal hurting Wolves more than they'll ever realise. Because what they've taken away is their starting right back. And I've seen fans, I'm good friends with a fan of Wolves, and I've seen his mates talking about it. I've not seen him personally mentioning it, but the fact that they don't need him. And what you've actually taken away is a Mr. Wolves. You've taken away essentially one part of the heart of their team. Apart from Connor Cody, I think he hadn't. I think only Connor Cody had been there longer than Doherty, and I think that could really hurt them. And I don't think they've spent very well either this summer so far. They brought in, like you said, the 18-year-old from Portugal. He might hit the ground running, might completely prove me wrong. He might be player of the year, but they've also brought in the other player they brought in was a backup Brazilian centre back from Leon. I think he was last at that I knew him at Marcel. Doesn't inspire me, so I got them down to 10th. 9th, who I think I've said, I think they've had so far the transfer window of the season in Newcastle. It's weird to say that they've had the transfer window of the season despite them only spending like peanuts compared to some of the teams, but they've bought really well, and that showed in that West Ham game. That Wilson.
They knew exactly. I'm sorry.
You carry on, mate. What did you say?
I said they knew exactly what they needed, and they've got exactly the players they've needed. Yeah, right position and the right mentality of players as well.
Well, that's it. They've gone out. They bought. They haven't gone out and bought a right back yet because I think they're giving Manquillo a chance. I don't know if Yedlin's out, but I think is Dummett out on the left back still, or he may even be playing centre back at times. But they obviously bought in the new left back. They bought in Hendrick, who I think is going to be a fantastic sign-in. And I was really surprised to see them go two up top the other day against West Ham in Carroll and Wilson. But something about me really strikes interest in me in that partnership. Wilson and Carroll. Carroll, for me, is one of the most naturally gifted Premier League strikers in the last 10 years. He has so much ability, and if Wilson can get that out of him, you've seen it in Carroll. The amount of goals that he scored. You know, they talked about Peter Crouch. He was always good with his feet for a big man.
Yeah, Andy Carroll's exactly the same.
No, I disagree. Andy Carroll's just good with his feet. Full stop. He's not for a big man. He's just good with his feet. He'd put other strikers to shame in this league. So I've gone for them in 9th, and I think that's a good season for them, even sat in 9th.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've got them 10th, and I thought that was a good season for them.
Yeah. 8th, I've gone with Leicester. Again, I think they might slip down a little bit. Obviously, they played well the other day, but they were playing West Brom, so it's hard to gauge. I think as long as they can keep Vardy scoring, then they've always got a chance of pushing up. Let's be fair. If any team can have their top goal scorer scoring 25 goals a season, then you've got a chance of being up in the mix of even Champions League football. I was going to say Europa League, but even Champions League football. I agree with you on the flop of the year, and it's not really flopping at this stage looking at my table. And no, in all fairness, my flop of the season in my table would be West Ham. So I'm going to go with Spurs in 7th. I agree with you. I don't think there's enough about them. They haven't bought. I think they bought well. I thought about this. Well, Højbjerg's a good signing. Doherty's a good signing. I wasn't sure about it, but I thought about it, and I think that's actually a really clever signing. But I don't think they've bought enough. And that showed against Everton. Obviously, Everton beat them. Alderweireld isn't as quick as he used to be. And that showed with the back pass, and Richarlison was inside his own half when he started running. And Alderweireld was probably, 10 yards from the ball, 15 yards from the ball. And Richarlison beat him to it. So that concerns me. Plus, they're playing Dyer at centre-back.
The thing is, what got me was, I hate to say it, but I'm intrigued to what Everton do this year. And with the players, they've signed some really, really good players.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and they didn't even play that well. It was just Tottenham played that bad.
Yeah, so it's hard to say. But obviously, so you've worked out, I assume you've sort of guessed who my team in 6th is?
Yep.
Which is?
Have you gone Everton?
I've got Everton as well, both in 6th.
Yeah.
I can see them even potentially pushing on to that 5th spot. Because we were talking about this on the podcast. They have James Rodriguez, Decore, and Allen. But I completely forgot that they've got Gomez, Davies, Sigurdsson. Like, these are players that can change games. As long as you can keep Decore fit and have him as your, or even as Allen as your sort of defensive-minded players. Yep. Gomez, Davies, Sigurdsson, James Rodriguez. That is a hell of a bunch to pick from. That is ridiculous. Like said,
the only thing that I think lets them down massively is the keeper.
And we say that, and did you see his save the other night against Tottenham?
Yep.
It was phenomenal. And I thought, fair play, you've shut us up. I thought that was a fantastic save.
I think that's one of the reasons I actually put them up so high into 6th.
What, because you thought it actually might do something?
The thing is, they actually started to play alright, and it's not, they didn't have the best of games, but they done what they need to, and they done well. And it was, like I said, it was Spurs, Wolves, and Everton for me. And I think that Everton are only going to improve, and they've done well the other way.
I think they've got 2 positions they need to replace, and 1 position they need to get more depth in. So I think they need to replace, potentially in the long run, replace Pickford. Obviously, they need to replace Coleman, but you could probably get by with him for this season because he is, again, he's been there the longest out of anybody in the club. He's their captain now that Baines has gone as well. Although Baines has also signed as a youth coach. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in with the first team by the end of the season. But so yeah, you could do with replacing him unless you're pushing Holgate out to right back. Because is Sidibe still there, or is he injured, or has he gone back? Was he on loan? I can't remember.
No, I think he's still there.
So even then, I wouldn't say they're strong enough. And then centre back, if they can get if they are getting Tomori on loan, then do you know what? I think they look real strong this season. Mina, Keane, Tomori. I think that's a good 3. That's certainly a Europa League 3.
Can I just say, because of our podcast, I was talking to people about that. I actually walked into work today, and my screensaver is now an Everton badge. I get changed straight away.
Class. So does that leaves me with starting off with the final my final 5.
I'm quite happy about because mine's interesting.
My 3 for me were dead certs. My top 3. My 4th and 5th were close. And I've gone on the fact that I believe more in what Arteta's doing over Ole. So I'm going to go Man U 5th place. And also, I think that might be down to the fact that they will be playing Champions League football after Christmas. And I think it could cost them their place in the Champions League spots. Well, you'd hope. To be fair, if they don't get Champions League football after Christmas, they've done something drastically wrong.
Yeah,
a team of their standards should be getting there. I'm more intrigued by Arsenal. Aubameyang's almost dead cert staying now. I think Lacazette will probably stay unless something drastic changes at Juventus.
Thing is, I don't know if that would make a massive deal for me anyway, if he did.
The problem is it's just depth, isn't it? We've been talking this whole thing about depth. They're playing Europa League. They need a second striker. I don't know if Eddie's good enough to step up the place for them. That Eddie Nketiah or whatever his name is. I don't think he's good enough to step up to the place to be a Champions League.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Striker. So that's them in 4th. Then I've actually gone 3rd place. And now, I've said to Pete prep yourself with a bold prediction for the end of the episode. And this is my bold prediction. Man City are going to finish third, and this will be Pep Guardiola's last season in English football.
Ooh.
I've got them as third, and I'm even going to go out the facts and say his next job will be PSG as well. So this will be his last season with him starting at PSG either this next season or the season after.
That's definitely a bolder prediction than mine.
Well, that is what I'm going for. Man City to finish third. I don't think they've rebuilt well enough. I don't think they've added enough for me, considering that they didn't beat Liverpool in the title. They don't really like looking at the two teams above them. I think the two teams above them both excite me more going forwards, and they probably look better on paper in defence as well. Really. Now. This is the big moment, Pete. Have I stuck to the guns on my podcast a few episodes ago? Have I stuck with Chelsea or have I reverted back to Liverpool? What do you think, Pete?
I reckon you've gone Liverpool. You haven't. Liverpool
second, Chelsea first. I'm going to back it. I backed it early on, and I said this before the season even fit. I think this was our end of season review or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, you did.
And I was even mentioning it to Green Machine when he came onto our videos for one of our drafting greatnesses. I think Chelsea can have a really good season this year. They've got the right players. They've certainly bought well. This is the team that compete with me for Newcastle. It's hard to say who's had the best season in terms of transfers, because Chelsea's like transfers are here in terms of how much they've spent. Newcastle's is here. Like, it's a big gulf. So I don't know who to say that. But I think Chelsea will get it for me. I think the thing that will cost us is that teams are going to find this out, as the way it is with Premier League champions, that they will pick holes. They will find holes. And that'll be teams as low as what I've got as Fulham in 20th. They will find holes in our defence. We will make mistakes more this season. Van Dijk, you saw it the other day, made a mistake. And I could see there being a lot of cockiness in our team this year. I don't think we're mentally strong enough at the back. If Van Dijk started making issues, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
But for me, Chelsea, I wouldn't say they're certainly not Mourinho, Drogba era Chelsea.
No.
But I think they could be. I think they could be. I think they really could be. And I'm interested to see how Havertz gets on. I like Werner. Werner came on, obviously started the other day, won a penalty.
Look good.
And I think Frank could really change it for them. And I think that also would make Frank the first. I think, does that make him the first English manager to win the Premier League? I think it does, doesn't it? Jesus. Yeah. That would make him the first English manager to win the Premier League. Yeah. Frank Lampard. Who would have thought that? That'd be insane, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that's me for the end of the season.
Right.
What is your final five? Right? Drum roll.
I think you might think my bold predictions in this, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not the one I've picked anyway. 5th place, I've gone for Arsenal.
Okay, so yeah, I can back that.
And I think this was really hard for me, because I think these 5 teams are all going to have fantastic seasons for me. They need to.
I think it'll be very close this year.
Yeah. In full spot, I'm gonna, and I think they're gonna do really, really well. I'm gonna go for Chelsea.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think they do really well. I think they might need another season. They'll be absolutely. They would have done. I think it's going to take a little while just to iron out some little partnerships. Maybe pushing to win the league in their first season of this team being at. It's possible, but
for me, the reason I've put them first, and I will say, is that if they're going to win the league, they'll have to win this year, because teams will see how strong Chelsea will be this year.
Yeah.
And teams will bring in reinforcements. If they're going to win it, it will be this year. I won't win it otherwise next year, in my opinion.
I reckon you. This is going to be a bit of a bold prediction. 3rd place.
Us?
Liverpool.
Oh, oh, he's hurt me. He's
I
hurt
know.
me.
I think watching the other day, teams like Leeds have worked out little nicks, and really, it just got me. Our 4 goals, we won 4-3. That's all that matters. But 4 set piece goals, and sometimes we looked worried at the back.
I think we will do this year. You
And
know.
I'm sitting there thinking, last season we had everyone played out their skin. We had no massive injuries apart from the injury to Alisson. Nothing really to worry about. We were very fortunate a lot of times, and I don't think we're going to go out and replicate that. And you've got other teams that can step up.
Is there this one thing that's at the back of yours and my mind? I think niggling international duty.
Yeah, I know we're going to lose players around December time.
You said we use South American players, correct?
Yeah, there was a tournament, South American tournament, which counts to Brazil.
So I'm looking forward to us playing Carrius then.
Yep. This is what I mean. There's going to be a lot of players. The Africa Cup of Nations. We've lost Salah, Mane,
Keita.
Yeah, there's a lot of players going, and I sit there thinking we put out a full strength team basically the other day, and we look like we was on the back foot quite a lot of the time. It does concern me.
There's certainly holes in his in his pressing system. But I'll back him to the hill. To be fair, if we come out and we finish third this season, I'm not even gonna. I wouldn't even complain about it. He's overachieved for me, in my opinion. He hasn't spent Man City money for us to win the league. He's just picked the best players and got us the right players for the right system. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't go and get Werner this summer because they think he'd be perfect, and that's sort of another reason why I've got Chelsea above Liverpool. Is that I think Werner will be a big difference maker.
I think you're right. I know Firmino for us normally he's a bit of a playmaker for us at the minute. Where he's playing as a striker, he steps back quite a bit. But it was just concerning that our one supposedly out and out striker didn't have one shot on goal at weekend.
Yeah, it's a hard one for Firmino because we play a role, a formation that no other team in the world plays anymore.
No.
Firmino is the best in the world in the role that he plays for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But does that mean it's necessarily the best one? Because obviously it leaves us having to rely a lot on the wingers and a lot of the attacking from midfield and a lot on set pieces not necessarily set pieces, certainly crosses from Robbo and Trent.
Yeah. The thing is, I've seen just in that one game, and a few times last season I've noticed it, where Firmino and Mane will be very quiet. If you can keep them quiet, sometimes Salah, he had a phenomenal game the weekend. He done what he had to do the weekend.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times last season where I've looked at Salah and gone, it's not a shade on what I've seen before out of him.
No, the thing is,
worries me.
Yeah, but he does have these magical moments where he'll get the ball, and you see it every week on Match of the Day's Facebook page. They do like a Techers of the Week sort of deal. Yeah. So skills of the week. Firmino is always in there, always, because he'll do something, and it's some things that you think no other player on the planet can do that skill that he has just done.
Yeah, I think it's just that, and teams working us out a bit from last year, and I think the other two teams are really going to step up. Yeah,
so you've got, I worked it out. Then you've got you've got a Mancunian, battle for the title. Like this is going to be like Fergie days. This is.
Yeah, and for me, second place will be United.
Bloody hell, I was going to say it. I was going to say, don't you dare say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to win the league. No. This is a manager that I have voted and have said numerous times has had the worst stint in Premier League history as manager.
Yeah, I think they're going to lick second spot. I think Bruno playing there towards the end of the season, the way they stepped up last season towards the second half of the season, and their strikers still weren't playing Man United quality. They had a bad season altogether last year. From goalkeeping to defending, they were very quiet, and I just can't see them doing it again this year. I can see if their strikers have another bad year, it's crazy for Man United quality. I can see them stepping up a bit.
The thing for me is is that he's stepped up his quality, obviously, in the last couple of years, for sure. But
Yeah.
he's joined a league which is way above the Liga NOS, which is the Portuguese league. He was at Sporting, who were a team that weren't winning the league. And so I don't think he's good enough to get a team like Man U and be that difference maker to almost winning the league, or at least come in second.
I've just got a sneaking suspicion United are going to do something this year, and I'll tell you what, I think they're going to be close to City.
You're bonkers, bud. You're bonkers.
I knew this was coming. I
think this. You said this. What your bold prediction isn't in this one. I think it bloody is.
I do know it was coming. And then for me, City, I just can't see them. I'm really excited by it this year. David Silva, I think it was a great player. But now Foden's coming in, and he's going to be like his main choice. I screamed and shouted when Foden was getting brought in. He was getting part bit games. I was like, this kid is brilliant. I think they've actually done the right thing now, because he's going to come in. He's had that experience, and he's starting to get played bit. He's going to be
again. It's one of those ones I disagree with. Again, I said it, and Pogba's probably the first time I've had a rant about Pogba. Yeah. I've never rated Pep. I think he's got that one really wrong with Foden. The kid is like fire. Yeah. So why would you not stick in a player that is fire from early on? Look at what's happened to players that we've considered fire in the last, let's say, 8 years. So probably the player that is considered the most player with the most potential in English football is Dele Alli. In the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Now look at his form.
Yeah.
And that could be exactly the same with Foden if he's not being played.
No, I think that's the thing now.
Dele Alli lost his form. Foden can do exactly the same, and you've missed his best years as a youngster. And that can happen. In my opinion, it happened with Rooney. Rooney had his best years between the age of 19 and 23.
I think they'll just be the spared this year. And I think that want from some of those players like Aguero, I think losing last year, I think that'll push them through. I think it actually done them well losing last year, because that want will be there.
Realistically, we know bugger all about.
You gave your bold prediction already.
I did, yeah, with the Man City Guardiola job, and to be fair, some would argue West Ham finishing 19th.
Yeah, and apart from the whole Man United and Liverpool situation on mine, my one is one of the first managers to be sacked. Well, before the next transfer window, Mourinho is going to be sacked, I think.
Yeah, it's a bold before. Just say before the next transfer window.
Before the next transfer window, I think they'll bring in. I think they'll bring in someone else. Not long before, but I think they'll look at it and go, "We need to buy some players in." And I just can't see them. They're going to give someone like Mourinho that chance.
How do you like this? I know he's just signed a new contract, but it would sort of go along the lines of my table of 10th, this team in 10th, the other team in 7th. So Mourinho gets sacked. 10th position for me, Wolves, Nuno Espirito Santo replaces him. A Portuguese being replaced by his old player. Another Portuguese.
And I just can't see them giving money to a manager that they're going to be on a downward spiral. So then I think they'll know they need to buy. Why would they give someone like that money that they're going to push out? They know it's.
The thing is, I think they would give Mourinho money because obviously he's proved that he can do it at Chelsea. Obviously, it failed for him at Man U big time. The problem is that I don't think Mourinho would be happy for a start if money was there, being the man that wasn't doing the transfers, because at Tottenham it's not the manager.
No.
So a person like Nuno Espirito Santo, Brendan Rodgers, even dropping down to Southampton at Ralph Hasenhüttl would probably do a job like that, and where they'd be happy being the head coach. and not the in charge of transfers.
I just think Tottenham has shown that Mourinho, how much Mourinho has changed in the last few years.
When he was at Chelsea, I used to really idolise him as a manager because that was when I started coaching, and it's so apparent how he's never ever evolved with the game, never. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. It's a bold prediction that it's before the window, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. Anything that you've got to add about your old table then, Pete? Any more predictions?
I hope I'm very, very wrong about the top three.
I hope so too, to be fair. And even on my one, I hope Liverpool can do it, to be fair. Yeah. Random one. And I've not prepped you for this one. It may not even say in the video. Your prediction, I don't know how well you know this league. Your prediction for the winners of the championship for next season.
Championship?
Yep.
I really think Norwich are going to bounce back up.
Oh.
They've kept hold of Pookie. They've kept hold of Campbell. They had a good little spine there in a team. They've lost a couple, but they've kept some strong players still.
Yeah, that's fair shout. For me, for the hat-trick, Brentford. They've been mentioned 3 times on a Premier League podcast on a league that they're not even in. They've even got mentioned more times than the team that they lost to in the playoff final. And I'm not even going to say that team's name because they're finishing rock bottom. Look, right down there. Not there. Right down there.
We won't mention Fulham.
Oh, Pete. I think I should take them to the hat-trick. Right, guys. I think we'll leave it there. We'll wrap it up. Thank you very much for doing this with me, Pete. I think it'll be good fun for us to react to this at the end of the season and see who's done definitely. What. As the season goes on, maybe we'll even have a think about maybe even a little forfeit or something for whoever's got the least right. But it'll certainly be a fun one to react to.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Make sure you subscribe, share us with your friends. And we will catch you in the next one.
Yep. See ya.
Cheers. Peace.